Alrighty, that was refreshing. So now that that's dealt with, hey Derp Tank, good to hear from you. That's incredible. You have 10 subscribers already with no actual content, man. Yeah, dude, make a video for us. And then Apollo, I'm not sure what you meant there, but good to hear from you. And then Waluigi, I totally agree, by the way. Waluigi for Smash all the way. Good hearing from you. I just had to go take my morning poo, and with that out of the way, as it were, let's get into part 2 of this guide. Oh, by the way, right click on a layer and hit D if you want to delete it. So this is part 2 of the OBS guide, or sorry, not the OBS guide. OBS, by the way, is what I use for broadcasting. It's a really good program, and once you get it set up, it works really well for you. I watched a guide on how to use it, and I had it up and running in about, 20 minutes, with just a little bit of frustration because I wasn't following the directions exactly. But let's get back into this GIMP guide. How to make custom camouflages for War Thunder. I've made other videos on how to do this, but now that I've covered the tools that you can use within GIMP, let's go ahead and actually make something happen here for the A6M5 Co. And I have absolutely no idea what I want to do with this thing, but let's just go to the old internets and let's see what happened. Let's see. Yeah, Waluigi, I feel you, man. That's the cool thing is you can play War Thunder on a PS4. That's pretty awesome. In my mind. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of fun you can have with custom camouflages, but maybe that'll change at some point in the future. We'll have to see. There's still plenty of content for you, nonetheless. So I get most of my images from Google search, and the first thing I want is a texture. Now, if we look at the A6M5 Co. in-game, if I'm looking for inspiration, this is one of those planes that I'd love to like anime up. So maybe I'll put some anime character on here. Something cute I think would be kind of appropriate. It is a cute little plane. What if we go into... So danger here. We're going into Google image search, so just bear with me. General search, and then we're going to go ahead and go images. And we're going to change that to actually 0 PNG. So who's 0? There's always, yeah, there's actually Mega Man 0 could be a good theme, wouldn't it? Yeah. So we'll go 0 Mega Man PNG. Why a PNG file? PNGs scale nicely, so that's very helpful, and they also have a transparent background. So again, that's something that can really help you out when it comes to planting these things down on your image. A PNG file is what's known as a vector file. Basically, the image recognizes the file as a series of specific shapes instead of a series of blocks that are a certain color. So let's go ahead and try this out. Those proportions, it's so weird. It looked cool until I saw his face. So maybe this one, maybe that one. That's kind of cool how it has the wear effect on it there. That's pretty neat. Some of these images are 0. I think a lot of the fan art is just kind of it carries over the aesthetic theme of the artist. Sometimes that's good and sometimes it's kind of derpy. So let's take a look at that. And then another thing with video game characters from a long-running series is they often have multiple. Oh yeah, let's 0 logo. So if you're looking for text, often putting a logo into your search field can be helpful. And that's a fairly good number of images to work with as far as our theme. And then I also want a texture. So let's see. Let's try Mega Man background. So we could have sort of a level stage theme. That's kind of cool. It looks a little bit blocky though. It's low resolution. What else do we have? We could go for a minimalist look, but that's going to clash with our overall theme. And again, these are all Mega Man specifically, so we're seeing a lot of blues. That's actually kind of cool if we could get that to work. But the more specific, there's a decent background. The more specific your background is, as far as like you can tell where each one of these struts is and what this machine is, the harder it's going to be to line that up with a 3D model of an airplane. Get it? You're going to have to cut each one of these chunks and scale them appropriately and line them up to get things to line up nicely. If you have anything that's not just static or noise. So we kind of want, for ease of use, a background that's sort of like static or noise. Maybe a felt would be good. So let's go for felt. Felt texture PNG. And here we have some textures. Here's a vector. High resolution, you call 480 by 320 a high resolution. I call shenanigans on that. This one actually is basically the popcorn finish on a wall, apparently. It actually looks kind of decent, especially since I can change the colors of that in GIMP, and the lighting is actually fairly good. If you look at the lighting gradients on some of these, this one you can see a wrinkle right here, and there's a darker spot here, and dark here, light here, dark there, just little bits, and it's also lighter on this half of the image than it is on that one. And when you paste that over, every time you copy the pattern, you're going to have some artifacting around the edges of that. And I've talked about that before. This one is also a fairly consistent pattern when it comes to its lighting, so we'll try that one out. So we'll start saving these. And we'll need a new folder. New folder. We'll call it 0. And we'll call this one 220.png, just to make sure it actually gets saved as a PNG. That is... So this one is a fairly more well done image that someone's worked up. You can see that the facial proportions are a little bit better. They don't have that weird like Korean pretty boy look to them. Yeah, okay, that should be fine. Save as PNG. That one looks pretty cool. What are you guys talking about over here? Freaking Waluigi, man. You are spamming that chat. I love it. Okay, PS4 noob. Yep. How about a Waluigi skin? A sexy Waluigi skin. You know what? Maybe next time, bud. I don't think Waluigi's the best choice for a 0, but I'd put him on something long and lanky like the JU288 maybe. Is that going to end up being my JU288 skin? We'll just have to see. Okay. Try and save that as a PNG file. Ugh. The eyes, the face. Just... that's a lot better image. Okay, that's a PNG. Good, good, good. And this should be fairly simple. .png. Good, good, good. And meh. Okay, I think I can work with that. And this one is almost perfect. Looks like a carpet. Okay. Let's try this out now. We have some resources to use. We'll go ahead and open the folder that they're contained in. Downloads 0. And then first off, let's get our texture. So let's try this fabric texture. That's actually kind of cool. It'll give us sort of a background for our image. Is that the texture we want? You know what? It might be the texture we need. Let's scale it down just a bit. Let's make it a 500 there. Yeah, that should do. Now we'll zoom into this. And you see, even at the level of detail of our base, it looks fairly decent. So we will select a part of this that has some good standard lighting to it. You'll see that that corner is actually a little bit darker, so I don't want that. I want consistent lighting so that when we copy this over, it'll look decent. And we'll Control C, copy that to the clipboard, hide this layer, select none, and then what are we gonna do? I'll delete that. I think I might have gotten ahead of myself here, but let's just try it out. So we're at a new layer. We'll select this one. Yeah, I think it's gonna work. Select all of that. What's our threshold? We'll make it 15. Select all the green. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Okay. And we will put that over here. Go to the fill tool. So we're up on our fresh layer here. We're using the fill tool. Fill whole selection. Pattern fill. Click here. Click the top left to pick your clipboard. And there we go. We now have a carpet texture on all of this wing. And you're like, Toshio, that is not an improvement over the base green. And you know what? You're absolutely right. But what we can do is we can change that color to whatever color we want, and then we'll keep the same sort of broken up texture look to it that could give us just a little bit cooler of a background for our character. So what color do we want to use here? And do we even, you know what? Let's also select the red. Okay. And do the same deal. Go up to this layer, fill with the clipboard. Is that kind of weird? It's a little bit weird, but let's just go with it for now. Yeah. Actually, why don't I do it this way? Let's just delete that. It seems to me... I kind of want everything. You know what? Let's work on the background later. Let's do the decals first. Okay. I'll check what you guys are saying real quick. Waluigi, I'm glad that you are a fan. I just love talking with you guys, and the whole reason I started doing YouTube is just to connect with people and to share my life with whoever was willing to listen. I used to talk all the time in school. Like I'll be sitting in the library and I'll just talk about something that's interesting, and there's nobody sitting right next to me, but people can like hear me and they're like, Wix, who are you talking to? And I'm like, whoever will listen. And they're like, nobody's listening to you. I was like, aha, you were listening to me. So now I have a place to just share myself with the world. Okay, so here's our clever plan. Actually, no, we'll do that later. Let's do some decals. Now this video is starting to look like a lot of my other custom camouflage videos. Just dragging things in, selecting. The selection tools are the most useful by far here. And just from the way this image looks, I know that I want to use the fuzzy select tool. So we'll go with that and click there, and I can already tell there's going to be some areas we need to also select. So all of this around here is looking good, nicely selected. The fuzzy select tool does a fairly decent job of getting those things, but it's these little areas here that are going to be a little bit more difficult to work with, to the point where it might be wise for me to make the background of this entire thing sort of a white looking deal, just to get this to work. And we'll change our threshold down to 5 so that we can start getting into these areas, and plus key to zoom in. This is a kind of tricky image to work with. Kind of tricky. Okay, by the way, one thing I haven't mentioned is that you can use the mouse wheel to move your image up or down, your view up or down. I talked about using plus and minus to zoom in and zoom out. And what else? There was something else, but I can't remember. Forgive me. Oh yeah, right, this bar down here you have to actually drag around to go left to right. Okay, that's looking decent. So we've selected what we don't want to select using the fuzzy tool, and now we go select, invert, and now we're actually selecting everything that we were not selecting before. It's the opposite. We'll copy, we'll hide that. Here's our decal layer, we'll paste him down. Looking fairly good, actually. Where are we going to put this guy? So you can recognize this is the front of one wing. That would be where the flaps are on the 0, and if you're wondering, you can always look over here and see there's the yellow part, there's the red box. So that's how you know what part of the wing that is. We could put this guy right across one of the wings, and in fact I think that's what we're going to do. So we'll rotate him a bit, and then a bit more, and we'll resize him. And again, this is a PNG file, so it's pretty easy to resize. We'll go for 900 pixels. That looks pretty good. Again, you can manually resize by clicking here and then dragging around this box to make things just the way you want. But I tend to use the pixel measurements just because that's sort of how my brain works, is using that math to figure things out. Okay, that actually fits in kind of cool, just the way it is. And we'll use the delete tool over here to get rid of that part that's going off the wing. And we'll also smooth this out a little bit with our delete tool. Okay. Go back to using our move tool. Can you dig it? Yes, I can. Okay, that looks decent. I feel like I need to have more going on here. If I could put some kanji behind him or something. Or maybe another character, something to splash on the wing here. That would look better. We can delete that thing we just brought in. Again, right click and hit the D to delete a layer. And what else? Maybe we'll put a little chibi filler over there with him. You know, one of the things I can tell already that's going to be a challenge about this particular guy is that his sword here is sort of opaque and it has a white background. The problem with that is we're going to have a white background when we paste him down on here, which isn't going to carry over the effect of the sword very well, but we'll see how that works out in just a moment. So, selecting, let's actually turn our threshold up on this one. Okay, that's better. And see what our issue is going to be here. Undo. I think that'll work. Can you dig it? Yes, I can. Okay, select, invert, copy, hide, go back here, create a new layer, put it under our original decals layer, paste him into that layer, move him over here, and you see he's overlapping. That actually looks kind of cool. We'll scale him down a little bit. Let's try 300. Yeah, that looks better. We'll rotate him. You're gonna hide that box to make things a little bit more visible. It never hurts to zoom in either. Okay. Yeah, I can dig that. And just the fact that we're sort of hiding his sword here, you can see the ugly white part that doesn't quite carry over properly. I think that works out fairly well to cut that up with this image here. So a little bit busy, but I feel that busy is good for an anime skin. I think some people take it too far, putting a lot of text and pictures and polka dots and stripes on an anime skin, and that's not my style. But I like this right here, a little bit of overlapping, some dynamicism between the characters, and of course it's just the same iteration, or a different iteration of the same character, but this is anime. That is a totally kosher way to express yourself animeistically. Now for the top side of the other wing, what shall we do? Let's first right click on this image that we dragged in and go ahead and delete it with, again, the D key to delete the layer. Let's get some text on the other wing. Yeah, I think I'll put the Mega Man 0 banner on there, and we'll select by color this time, set the threshold to 10, and see how that works for us. I think that worked out fairly well. Let's even move the threshold up a bit. Let's make it 15. Try again. It looks just as a rough area here. We're losing a little bit of parts of this Z here, but overall I'd say that's a pretty good selection. Again, select invert, hide. We'll put this on the lower decal layer, paste it in. rotate around. You know the drill by now. And if we zoom in, I guess we can't zoom in right now. Now we can zoom in. You can see there's little bits of the Z outline here that we didn't bring with us, and there are some ways to address that. In fact, I think I'll use those in just a moment and show you how to replace a little bit of texture that you haven't brought with you, or a little bit of background that you haven't brought with you from another image. We'll position this on the wing the way that we like. You got to be aware of where things like ailerons and flaps are, because those can change how your decals show up depending upon the vehicle. This one has flaps that come from the underside of the wing. The top side doesn't morph, but the underside does. So this part here should be fairly straightforward. This could have a little bit of some artifacting, so we're keeping our text away from this joint here, because the 3D model could interrupt our image a small bit, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a moment, or actually not in a moment, it'll be a while. Let's make a new layer, and we'll grab our, let's use airbrush, use the white color, set our size to 40 pixels is a fairly good sort of broad strokes kind of deal. And yes. And we're in our lower layer. Let's actually make our size more like 20 pixels. Yeah, see what we're doing here? We're just adding a white background to this area that's a little bit choppy. And that's one way to clean things up a small bit. Let's actually use the brush tool for this. There we go. Just give it a nice clean look. You can see you can clean up a little bit of your artifacting with your drawing tools, and it's still fairly quick. And honestly, you can do things a lot more precisely and nicely than what I'm doing right now, but it's going to also make your project take a commensurately longer amount of time. Polish takes time. Okay. What else? Let's get that. Let's get over there, and that'n, and that'n, and this'n, and a little bit over here, a little bit there. Just filling in some of these gap tooth gaps we have, and the rest is going to be a little bit dirty, and that's going to be just fine by me. And there's a lot you can do to clean this up and make it look really good, but that's not the way I do my custom camos. It's just not my style, because I'd rather have quantity over a really polished product. I've already taken a lot longer for this one than I generally take, just because I've taken the time to do some explaining things. So what we did is we created a layer below our decal layer. So here's our decal that we're touching up. We're using the white color to just fill in some of these holes in the decal with white. We're working on the layer below it, and we're using the brush tool to do that. So we're drawing in just a little bit of fix to this background, and you can see it actually looks really nice. So that's one way you can deal with things like gradients, is instead of getting in there and zooming on each individual pixel and selecting everything that you want to carry over, you can carry over the sloppy version and then just do a little bit of touching up by hand. It won't be perfect, but it can be a lot faster than doing things the right way. And we could even try something like this. And yeah, maybe. I'm happy with it. It's good enough. This is sort of the point where I realized that I could spend ages on this and make it look good and still not be satisfied with it, or I could slap something down and move on with my life. And just by virtue of the fact that I don't have my legs all that much free time. I like making things happen. So that's that. We played with the idea of putting down a texture. And let me just make sure that this wing is going to have the text showing up in the right direction. Yeah, that's the outside edge, so left to right. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. And delete. What else? Should we put something on the tail? I think this time, no. It looks like we have one singular underwing. That is the case. So this wing here is actually going to be copied over. Everything on this side of the central fuselage is going to be copied over on the 3D model. So that should be interesting. We'll take this wing and we can paste something onto there. Let's make sure we're in the right layer first. So there's our... Let's go ahead and merge that down, actually. Okay, so there's our lower decal layer, upper decal layer. What could we put here? It's going to be copied over. So I need to keep that in mind. Maybe nothing. Because if I use text and it gets mirrored over, it's going to be backwards on one side. I could put something like this. Maybe along these sort of lines. Maybe. This is a maybe kind of deal. It looks a little weird just the way that he's grounded here. But if I get it just right, it could look a little bit cool. Maybe. Okay, that looks kind of decent. I'm happy with that. So that's what we'll do. Yeah, I could stand to see that. Okay, anything else? Anything on the fuselage? So this is kind of interesting. This looks like some of the tail section. You can see where the horizontal stabilizer would be. Or vertical stabilizer? Yeah, vertical stabilizer. This would be another side of the tail section. So maybe we could put something here in this 0. And I think it can be that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy with that. But okay. Let's scale this down considerably. It is linked. How's that look? Not bad. Not bad. Alright, and then we'll select that color and delete. No. Okay. Yeah, I can dig that. Can you dig it? Yes, I can. And let's make it bigger than the rondel. Just because. Let's make it 170. It's a little bit pixelated, but so is the rest of this camo, so I'm cool with that. We'll copy that, paste. I don't know why it moved it over a few pixels. That's just odd. And we will anchor that there. If we come to this one, paste. We'll need to flip this one horizontal. Why does it look so weird? And also vertical? Yeah, okay. Okay, let's zoom in real close to this one and see what our orientation is. So we're almost touching this second row on the red, and we're about halfway on that one. So we're almost touching the second, and we're about halfway on that one. That's pretty good alignment, if I say so myself. Go ahead and move this over a bit just to get it out of the way. I think that'll do. Alright. Paste it. Or I should say anchor it. Okay, from further out, that looks fairly decent. 0. Mega Man 0. And then we got some images of our pro tag over here. Alright, I can work with that. I can live with that. Now, let's go to a little bit of color correction or color adjustment. So, let's just work with this layer. So this is a very simple way of making adjustments to your image. I've clicked on the layer. I'm going to click colors, and I'm going to click colorize. And it's going to make all of this. Hello? Okay, there we go. It's going to make all of this follow a certain color scheme. Basically, it turns the image over to a single palette. So everything is going to look sort of as you see. Now let's work with our hue. Let's get a little bit warmer, maybe. No, there we go. There we go. A little bit colder, actually, of a color scheme. Then we'll turn our lightness down, saturation up. Give it more of a cartoony look, but a sort of a darker cartoony look. Maybe work a bit with the things. I think I'm happy with that. It clashes just a little bit with our source material here. We could go really... A red theme might actually go well for us. Maybe darken it a little bit. Let's turn up the saturation even more. Yeah, now it's a neon. Actually, this more washed out red looks fairly good. I think it's sort of in keeping with the arcadey kind of theme of this character being a Mega Man character. Yeah, I can dig that. And then what else? I could do things like deselect landing gear and components and such, but I've shown how to do that in some other videos, and I don't want to take the time to do that, frankly. So what else? What last thing can we do here? I think I want to apply a little bit of a texture, and the texture I want to apply, I think I'd like to put a grid on this. So maybe some static. We'll see. So let's make a new layer, and we already have this texture here. So we'll go ahead and select a nice even portion of this to use as our static. copy, hide, select none, which actually selects the entire layer, fill whole selection, clickaroo. And you're like, Toshio, what have you done? Stick with me here. I will show you the way. You see a little bit now? Once we turn down the opacity, it makes this effect a lot more smooth. And you see it just kind of adds a little bit of static to our background, which makes these decals pop, but also preserves. It gives your eyes something else to break up just the monotony of these really bright, saturated colors. We'll put it that way. So we'll go ahead and delete that. We will copy this layer. We will paste it over our decals layer. So new layer, paste. And then we'll adjust this one to be like a 10 opacity. Okay, and that puts just a little bit of a texture on our decals as well, which binds them to the reality of our background, if that makes any sense. I have some other videos that show that technique off a little bit better, but I like the way it's sort of washed this really saturated look to be something a bit more subtle. And we're not done there. I'm going to go ahead and merge those layers down because I'm happy with how they are. And I'm going to go to our colors layer, create a new layer just above that, and we're going to do a little bit of burning. And now there is a tool for burning, but I do something even simpler. I take the airbrush tool, I change it to black. Let's make our size 100 pixels. Because we have a really low hardness, so let's make it actually 200 pixels. Really 300 pixels. We're going to be really broad here with this burning. So airbrush tool, black, big broad strokes, and our hardness is low, 25%, which means that we're not going to have a huge impact around the outside of where we're burning. You see what we're doing there? So that is that. Just adding a little bit of depth to our stuff. And see, where's the leading edge on that? We just need to be consistent is all. Okay, and then this one, we want to be right here. Okay, and you're like, that is not a very subtle effect, Toshio. And the way we drew this in, you're absolutely right. It's not subtle at all, but check this out. So first, we'll go back down to our base layer, and we'll select by color, and we'll select all of our lighter colors here. And we'll go up to our burned layer and delete all of that. So every part where these darker parts are crossing over to the lighter parts, the light parts have none of that burn effect on them. Very nice. It's a whole lot faster, as you can see, than actually making these drawn lines something smooth and nice. You can see, look at this transition. This is a beautiful transition, if I say so myself, where we have this burned darker area here. It gives it sort of a weathering look, and we will make that more subtle in just a moment. And then this is totally clean. So that did everything we wanted it to do. Now let's go back to our burn layer and change the opacity. So now that we have it down, we can play with how strong the effect is by sliding the opacity around. And I kind of like that right there. Gives it a little bit of sort of a weathering look, but it's sort of subtle. a little bit of an oxidization, a burning effect, if you will. And Bacon, I hope your ears are burning now that that you're seeing how I accomplished that manually. You can really fine-tune your weathering, and I know anybody that's a fan of model making will be like, wow, that is so cool. Especially if you go back to what I did by going to the base layer, which is actually this color, but I didn't even need to look at it. I knew what I was clicking on. Selecting all the light colors, and then deleting all of this layer where it intersects with those light colors by selecting over here, and my selection is still in the area of those light colors, so hit that delete key and we get that neat effect. So that is that. I really like the way this custom camo is looking now, and let's ship it. So file, overwrite, and then to make our damage file, let me check comments real quick. Yes, red. Too much red. Yeah, deal with it. Oh, actually, let me... Yeah. And again, you know, I don't have the best artistic taste, but I just make things that I enjoy. And I could do a lot more to make this look nice, but I just don't want to spend that amount of time on this project. So what else am I gonna do? You know what, I see the engine here and I'm just like, I kinda wanna do a few other things, but let's not do that. Let's open the damage file. So this is what our A6M5 Co is gonna look like when it's damaged. Do you see a problem? Kind of how it looks like the base image. So let's create a new layer. This is the fastest way to make a damage file that I've ever done. And we're going to go ahead and merge all of this down now that we have what we want. Copy it. Go into our damage file. We made a new layer. We're going to paste this on top of that. Anchor it. Go hide that layer. Select all of the color of the stuff that got damaged, the actual holes here. And go back up to this file, delete those areas, and you see we've just punched a bunch of holes in our ship, and there's no like paint scraping effect that you see in this one, but that is one way to make that damage show up really quickly. Let's see, select none, let's go with this. Oh, I'm on the wrong layer. That makes sense. Okay, we'll go with this. A click. And... Can you dig it? Yes, I can. What does that give us? I think we can work with that. Nah. Let's not go down that rabbit hole. So there are ways to make this damage file look a lot better, but you see we punched some holes in it there, and that is enough for me. So it's a sloppy damage file, but it's an extremely fast one to make. So we'll go File, Overwrite. Now, this should crash the game. It takes a while to load. But there it is. Our Animu version. That actually looks really good now that it's in the game, doesn't it? I really like it. Look at that cool weathering effect that we did here. And then there you see it on the tail fin. Very nice. Very nice. Could be better. Again, the more time you spend on this, and you can do things like deselecting all the cockpit components and the engine and bits of the propeller if that's what you want, and really fine-tune this to make it look really good. But this is sort of like a toy version of a custom camo. It's just something quick that I threw together. In some of my other videos, you can see me doing a lot better job. This, the text is going in the right direction, and this, the text is going in the wrong direction. Let's go ahead and fix that. You know what? Screw it. I'm happy with it. I'll have the text be backward because I'm insane like that. I've already merged my layers. I'm past the point of caring at this point. So this is not my best custom camo, but it is a custom camo. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed that one, and I'm gonna try and, well, maybe just play a little bit of War Thunder, or maybe just relax for a little bit while the baby's taking a nap. It's been a long morning, and I'm actually pretty sick today. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. Let's check the chat real quick. A6M5 Co is my favorite aircraft to fly for Japan, says Waluigi. Cool. It looks like a toy. I love it. Good. Good. That's sort of the effect we ended up with. It's almost like, for me, this kind of takes me back to my childhood, where it would have been super cool for me to have like an RC airplane that had a Mega Man theme. So this can be that. It is a toy. Hope you enjoyed this one, bud. Catch you in the next video. Bye-bye.